I invite Sue Byers to the podium for our next introduction.
Dr. Danielson is currently a clinical professor of pediatrics at the University of Washington School of Medicine and directs the Allies in Healthier Systems for Health and Abundance in Youth, ASHE program. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Dr. Ben Danielson.
I'm so nervous. This is great. This feels good, though. This feels right. So I'm just going to flow. Will you flow with me? We'll do this? Yeah. All right. It's indeed a great honor to be with you today. An honor to be here together with attention to safety, but cherishing the value of human connection. Embracing this opportunity to commune in joyful celebration. And in each other's presence, we mark a special moment. I see you, not some electronic verisimilitude of you, but I see you. We're here together, sharing space, the broad Antioch community, families, friends, and loved ones, together witnessing your accomplishments. So many around you, present here today and not present here today, are part of the badass movement that is you. Sorry, kids, I'll stop with this word. We see you rising. This event today is a celebration of you rising. And I know, even without having seen it with my own eyes, that your rising is occurring despite tribulation, eclipsing struggle and hardship. Your rising is hard-won and well-earned. So I hope you take a moment to pause, take those deep breaths that bring you into this moment and allow you to love this, allow you to know and love yourself in this rising, allow you to share gratitude. Pause, take those deep breaths, be here right now. Set aside that companion called self-doubt, that thing on the shoulder called imposter syndrome. Set aside that voice that might have said that you're somehow unworthy of this moment. Pause, deep breaths. Let go of those counterfeit companions, if you will. Affirm this moment. Affirm yourself in this moment. Affirm your rising. Your rising is significant. It's propitious. It's important. It's august. It's profound. It is magnificent. Yeah. You hear me call it a rising, and let's call this a rising because it isn't exactly an end or a beginning, is it? Not really. It isn't so much a finite thing, not so much just a culmination of a bunch of things. This moment flows. It flows from and it flows to. It's a tributary for things to come and things to be done. This moment flows and it's joyous. It is you rising. I trust, I hope, I trust that this moment does not fully predict everything that you will become. Rather, it hones and amplifies your gifts, whatever may come. Not only have you navigated the plenty arduous path of higher education, you've done it during years that where everything has been made even harder. You've been tested in every possible way. Taken to unpredicted depths of fatigue and of hardship and of exhaustion. If you already had heavy trauma in your life, if you've already endured trauma in your life, then you endured even greater trauma in these past years. That's the way these past years have been. I hope you also, though, saw moments of pure love, magnificent brilliance, and unrestrainable joy as well. Somehow joy and pain, they seem like simultaneous things these past years in some way, somehow. It's been a hard road. I know that's true for all of you. So the fact that you're here today is really doubly remarkable. And by the way, based on this sort of double remarkable kind of moment that we're in. I tried to see if your academic leaders could just throw in an extra degree for you. They said no. Then I thought they might consider some sort of honorary something, at least like a master's in enduring COVID, an MEC. Yeah, they said no. But you all know what you did. Still, an honorary degree would be kind of cool, something that, anyway, okay. I need to check myself, I'm sorry. Y'all don't know me. And I'm butting into your business a little bit. I'm a general pediatrician. I've had this incredible honor of being in community with some of you and being in community at a clinic steeped in an inspiring legacy of powerful Black women. I'll say that again, powerful Black women, an amazing community steeped in social justice. So I am in the right place today, aren't I? What a wonderful opportunity to be part of beloved community. And that is a forever gift. And I hope for each and every one of you, that is your experience from here on forward forever. I'm probably supposed to impart some kind of wisdom while I stand up here in this funny looking outfit. But I suspect in so many ways, you all already surpass me in wisdom and in brilliance. So what I can do is try to share some things that I've gotten wrong and that I'm trying to learn from. Not exactly the same as wisdom, but getting it wrong can be a useful precursor to wisdom, can't it? I'm gonna overshare. Things I've gotten wrong. Let me start with either or thinking. The idea that things must slot into one category, one answer to the exclusion of another possibility. You're not supposed to be able to say, focus on the current suffering of individuals and also work on changing the way things work for the future generations, either or thinking. If there's a sense of urgency in the need to address issues, you can't allow for relationship building and a thoughtful process in divining how those issues will be addressed. Either or thinking. These are false bargains, sometimes that we make even with ourselves, or they might be pressed upon us by bigger entities. I used to accept and expect either or thinking. It was part of my training, I think. Now I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot more both and in the world than there is either or. And as I embrace that both and mentality, the universe of possibilities expands for me, and I hope it expands for you. In your rising, I trust you will be served well by finding the both and as often as possible. Things I've gotten wrong, the fix it mentality, fixing systems and fixing people. Those are the biggest lies that oppression has foisted upon us for centuries. And I used to be drawn into that kind of action, even as I was rejecting that kind of talk. Fixing systems. Working in community-based pediatrics, I understood that these systems that were devastating, that were killing people, I understood that these systems weren't actually broken. There wasn't just a cog here, a gear there that needed adjusting or repair. These systems aren't broken. They're working exactly as they are designed. They're working perfectly, even as they preferentially harm certain populations with perfect precision. Fixing systems is not a thing. I believe that disruption and redesign is a thing. Sometimes a diligent grind, something that feels like evolution, sometimes a cliff, a tectonic shift, an upheaval that is more like revolution, both and. In your rising, I trust you will be attentive and intentional to know how to advance evolution without being sedated into complacency, and how to advance revolution without just inviting the next oppression to take up the subsequent void. I'll be honest with y'all. I long for a lot more revolution. You can probably tell, a lot more. After all, I've trained to be in healthcare, a system long overdue for the revolution of becoming a universal healthcare system. Right? I heard a yeah. Yet I'm still endeavoring, trying to grow, and trying to gain more appreciation for evolution as well. as long as it doesn't devolve into a preoccupation with fixing people. Fixing people is not a thing. Preoccupation with fixing people is deeply rooted in naming one group as the supposed gold standard toward which others need to be repaired. Fixing people is deeply rooted in colonization and saviorism. Fixing people is deeply rooted in naming deficits and ignoring assets. Fixing people is almost always constructed around a scarcity mentality, supposing that upstream investments are too costly or something. And so investing in small increments, waiting for those babies to flow down the stream and then try to pull them out of the water, rather than going upstream and addressing why they're being put into the river in the first place. Ultimately, of course, those downstream investment increments add up to much more cost than harm than upstream investments would have. Notice, well, you probably do notice already how often a system, like a local government or an organization, will say it is addressing equity by focusing on fixing people. Fixing people becomes the misdirection that protects and sustains things like racism. Proffering that suffering happens because people are broken, not because of oppression. Fixing people as a mentality denigrates dignity. If you believe that, say ashe or amen or something to me today. And fixing people tries to tell wonderful communities that they are something less than wonderful. Fixing systems, fixing people, all too effective distractions from doing good work. And I know that in your rising, you are vested with the skills and values that allows you to see those distractions for what they are. Things I've gotten wrong. I've gotten plenty of things wrong. One area has to do with narratives, including the community lore that I either heard as a child or that were motivating motifs as I grew. Some of the most meaningful narratives at the time came to me from my elders, and they would be something that today I kind of wonder if they're so useful after all. One such narrative was a phrase that went something like this: if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Just do whatever you need to do to keep moving forward. This is an aphorism I remember elders saying all the time, and I ate it up. I told myself it was the kind of message that was needed to achieve, to transcend. Now I wonder about that narrative. I wonder about the abject ableism to start with. Is that meant to divide those oppressed by racism from those oppressed by different abilities? I wonder why we should expect our dear community members, our youngest, our elders, anyone in our communities to crawl in order to see change. Why would it be the responsibility of the oppressed to crawl instead of placing the responsibility where it should be, on the shoulders of harmful systems? Has this aphorism, this narrative, just been another distraction that we were convinced would lift us up when all it did was place more burden on the wrong backs? Just a distraction from the truest cause deserving of focus. Just another thing I got wrong for a while. Your rising will afford you the insight to interrogate your own narratives, to ask your own questions, and know which truly advance you on a just path. Just paths. Just paths that advance justice and inspire social action require some measure of opportunity. Our lives, they seem to be stacked with odds and sprinkled with happenings. I was placed in foster care as a young child. I told you I was going to overshare. Had I stayed in that system as a Black male, the odds would not be good. If I had aged out of foster care, odds, or racism, or amplified trauma, whatever you want to call it, the odds would have had it that I would have had a 68% chance of already being incarcerated at least once, and highly likely to be incarcerated again. Odds would have it that I would have had a 2% chance of starting college and a high likelihood of never graduating. Caring people in our lives help assure that bad odds are not destiny. I will say that again, bad odds are not destiny. I was rescued from foster care, and I'm grateful. Grateful might not even begin to adequately describe the feeling I have for that. And I imagine that you all are grateful to yourselves, to your families, and to this institution for the opportunity that it is offering you. the opportunity to rise and lead meaningful lives that advance justice through the pillars foundations, through the keys unlocking magic, and the branching fruitful pathways that you can take. The opportunity to rise. That is one of the greatest privileges and joys imaginable. And I know your gratitude extends beyond the bounds of the university as well. We each owe a debt of gratitude to a multitude of people, people directly in our lives, people in our periphery, people we may never actually meet, who have helped to defy some set of odds, who have helped to traverse some unimaginable barriers and chasms, who have helped unlock potential and foster growth. You've already done some remarkable things in your lives. Your being here is Exhibit A. You've done some remarkable things, and you'll continue to rise to do remarkable things. And you know you didn't do them alone. You did the work, you did it. And you didn't get here alone. None of us gets anywhere on our own. So many have been here for you, will be here for you, just as you have been there for others. Today, we express our gratitude for our families writ large. We love y'all, our families. We love you. We love you, I don't know, I'm gonna make up words, our co's and pros. Co's like our colleagues and collaborators and co-conspirators. Pros like our promoters and protectors. We love y'all. Our colleagues, our promoters, our PACs, our simultaneous teachers and students, our circles. There's a lot of gratitude to go around. Growing up in DC, there was always somebody around me. We called her Big Mama Pearl. I don't to this day know her real name, I must be honest, but I have a lot of gratitude for her. She taught me about Black community, about navigating an America that showed a lot of hate for someone who looked like me. She cajoled and scolded me back onto my own 2 feet when I slipped and tripped. She and folks like her gave a lot of Black love. And I hope that your lives, as you rise, are rich with Big Mama Pearl love. And I hope that Mama Pearl knows your gratitude too. Now, maybe I should be better, but my gratitude is actually not universal. I heard the other day about a famous performer receiving an award. And in her acceptance speech, she thanked all those who harmed her. I think I get the gist. It helped her growth. It helped her know herself, to help her overcome. But I have to admit, I'm not that evolved yet. I may never be that evolved. I don't feel gratitude for the authors of harm. I'm not grateful for those who would seek to undermine reproductive rights. I won't thank, say, the perpetuators of environmental destruction for making us fight harder for climate justice. I won't thank the protectors and promoters of the gun-addicted America that we live in, that imposes on us a society that prioritizes guns over the lives of our children, over the lives of our elders. I will not say thank you. I won't have gratitude. I won't have gratitude for a former president who did great harm while in office and then attempted to create a fascist state after being voted out of office, including the violent overthrow of our government. I will not say thank you for that. I won't feel any gratitude for some scary reminder of what a dictator looks like, nor will I feel gratitude either, and this is important to me, for the passive majority. The people who often with seeming good hearts and good intentions and good words sit idly back, excusing their own inaction, their own complacency, excusing themselves, perhaps saying that they have insufficient power, expecting someone else to do the work, execrating others' efforts to make change happen, sowing those silos that have kept us from synergizing our efforts for so long. I will not express gratitude for the complicit harm done by inaction, nor will I express gratitude to corporations like hospitals that appropriate and misuse the language of equity, while continuing to reinforce the racist status quo. No, I got to admit it. I won't thank those perpetuators of harm, but I will. I will share my gratitude for anyone who has emerged and endured those harms and have not allowed themselves to be defeated by hate. I do share deep gratitude for those who speak out against hate and harm, even when it invites risk for their own personal bodies and selves. And I have a deep sense of gratitude for you. Not only for what you've done already, how you've shown yourselves, but also for what you in your rising will continue to do. Take particular note that your rising comes at a critical time in our history. I know Probably every single year, someone stands up at a podium and says, this is the most important year ever in the history of time. Happens all the time. I would say, but this time has all the receipts. This is a time. This is a time, perhaps a culmination of a half a century or so of civil rights era and a counter eras and countervailing efforts between then and now. This is a time of mounting and adding threats to our environment, our health, our systems of governance and infrastructure. This is a time, maybe a reckoning, or more accurately, maybe a beckoning of a reckoning, a beckoning of a reckoning. A self-reflective time, a look in the mirror, a question directed inwardly, a question I believe that we are yet to answer. A question that has something to do with diverging paths. A question, which way will we go? Double down on the definitional insanity of doing the same things over and over again, the status quo, while hoping for different outcomes. Re-endorse the kind of mediocre leadership that we see too often today, that remains strangely protected even by those he oppresses and seeks to keep us divided, fighting each other instead of fighting the power hoarders. Or toward liberation, toward reparation, toward an affirmation of human dignity, toward a willingness to do hard things, not more expensive things, but hard things, to construct a better society. Hard because at first glance, action seems unknown or unknowable, but actually hard, more aptly, because it forces us to admit that we've known the actions we must take for a long time now as a society. Hard because we know the answers. We know what we must do, at least the first steps. We know that a universal basic income would cost less and solve more of the things that we call social ills than any wasteful downstream effort we engage in today. We know these things. We know the communities know what they need and how their needs should be met. We know that a mediocre and modest measures of gun legislation only mean that we must only modestly care about the lives of our children and our elders. We know this. We know what we need to do. Guarantee universal quality healthcare that truly centers community. Guarantee universal quality education that understands a diversity of cultures and experiences and understands neurobehavioral diversity. We know. Guarantee family leave that assures brilliant people don't have to make choices. We know. We must make dramatic shifts in the consumption of fuels and in our creation of waste. We know all these things. And we have much more to learn as well about how to create a more perfect union, how to manifest beloved community. And yes, I say again, you are rising at a critical time, maybe a 0 hour in another 50-year cycle. You represent a multi-generationally imprinted hope, a Sequoia scale opportunity for change. This is the time in which you are rising, and I celebrate you on this day. My hearts, our hearts, all of us who love you, our hearts are filled with joy. And the indelible ink absorbed into this degree conferred on you today is symbolic of our degree of trust in you, in your rising to build a better world, not through devilish misappropriations of the words equity and liberation. You're on to that game, not through the meaningless increments of we all too often see, the pseudo change that is expressly intended to sustain the status quo. You understand how that power hoarding game is played. No, you understand how to invest for the future. You will be good stewards of tomorrow. Like an interpretation of Tikkun Olam, your rising will be part of healing the world. Heal the world however you interpret that, and you will be good stewards of your rising. I know that sounds heavy, like a lot to bear on your shoulders. A big mama Pearl, if I said that to her, she'd probably say to me, don't be foolish, son. Good work never did rest on any one set of shoulders. The presence of those around you today and the many more they represent is proof that you will never walk alone. You will never walk alone, never bear a burden alone, never succeed or fail alone. You are all you've ever needed to be. Your rising just draws out the best in you and adds some tools to the belt. You're worthy of all the accolades showered upon you today and more. Your rising is not an express ticket to ease. I know you'll be challenged. I kind of hope that you'll continue to be challenged by the things that matter and the things that push you. And I hope that you continue to challenge the things that need pushing. This, after all, is the definition of rising. It is a joyous thing indeed. You bring joy by your very existence, by the way you move in this world. So rise. Rise not in the physical way that gains altitude, but rise. Rise in some kind of way that the sun rises because the earth moves under your feet. Move the ground, undo the foundations of injustice under us. Rise not just in your influence among others, but in your integrity. Rise in your ability to more fully be yourself. Don't lose sight of who you are, and don't forget to breathe. Pause, remember, breathe, repeat as many times as you need to. Pause today with me and celebrate who you are. Pause today with me and celebrate the good in this world and the possibility for radical love to bring loving revolution. Share a hug, share a hand, share a smile, and just rise. Thank you.